Good evening and welcome to the Federal Special Live broadcast. It's been nearly a week since the tragic crash of an Air India Dreamliner in Ahmedabad, an incident that has not only shaken public trust but also raised serious questions about the safety, accountability, and future of India's flagship carrier. Now, tonight, we cut through the noise and focus on facts. So, joining us live is K Giriprakash, senior business journalist based in Bengaluru. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hi, good evening.
So, we'll decode the probe's early findings and could Air India have handled the situation a little better and also examine if this crisis could prove to be a turning point for Indian aviation industry. So, Giri Prakash, I'll come straight forward to you and ask you, do you think should Air India has done a shoddy job in handling the post crash crisis and what specific missteps stands out for you?
Yeah, let's start from the beginning. Then we can go to the post-crash scenario.
Yeah.
Uh, as far as Air India, when it was taken over by the Tatas, the government sold the public sector undertaking to the Tatas. Given the kind of reputation the Tatas have, the kind of quality that they bring to the table when it comes to their hospitality sector, the Taj Group of hotels, one expected that the same quality will henceforth show in Air India. And uh, one does understand that there are a lot of issues. Traditionally, Air India has been a very bureaucratic kind of organization. To shed that skin and then become a better version does take time. But when it comes to the in-flight service, one expected the kind of hospitality, the kind of quality that Tatas have will immediately show up. Unfortunately, it didn't. Not only that, there were a whole lot of ground issues. The pilots guild raised several concerns regarding how overworked the pilots are, and there were litany of complaints, right? The washroom was clogged, and the airline and the flight had to return, had to go somewhere else. So uh, one needs to understand that these are problems, and there are inherent problems, and that's the reason why all this shows up, right?
Yeah.
But then the cosmetic changes
Yeah.
could have been brought
So,
forward,
yeah,
and therefore
yeah.
you could have had a at least in-flight service could have been, if not on par with the kind of service that one expects from the Taj Group of hotels, to at least somewhere like the one they had the Vistara Airlines, right? The same kind of service could have been brought forward to the in-flight service there. It's not that there was no benchmark. Vistara was a benchmark, right?
Mhm.
They just
Yeah.
had to plant that there, but it didn't have happen. Now, to say that whether uh, crash was a result of this, I wouldn't go that far. What happened was extremely unfortunate. What happened was something nobody expected. Uh, but post crash, and that is part of your question, it is something the Tatas are not used to, right? And
Yeah.
therefore, could have been some kind of confusion. There could have been for them to actually have on ground kind of training and all that. Maybe that was found wanting. But at the end of the day, these things don't happen on a regular basis. So you've got to sort of take that into consideration before passing any verdict whether Tatas did a good job uh, post crash.
Yeah. Now, let's not go into the verdicts section here, Mr. Giri Prakash, but also at this point of time, the investigations are underway. In the last 7 days, 83 flights have been cancelled, most of them being the Dreamliners. So, and with all the investigations going on, Is the probe heading into the same direction, or is there anything that key findings which you have come across and you would like to share with us?
There have been um, a lot of arguments in favor or against about. There have been several retired pilots who have who have on the X platform, they have gone and aired their views saying that this should happen, this didn't happen, and all that. But finally the probe will reveal what exactly was the issue, and we'll have to wait for that. And they have been. I do agree that they were the the fact that the aircraft didn't really take off and crash immediately, maybe just 2 minutes later. It's something which is very unprecedented. Okay,
Yes.
and that is something that we need to take that into consideration. A whole lot of insurance. It could be engine failure. It could be failure regarding the lift off. All those could have
Yeah.
happened. People also talk about the fact that if it had actually crashed right in the middle of the town, thousands could have got killed. And here, the casualties comparatively was much
Yeah.
lesser. Um, but what I liked about the uh, the entire process post crash was the Boeing flew down some of its technical crew, top technical crew. DGCA got into action immediately. The Tata said that they are going to go ahead and do whatever it takes to find out what exactly was the issue. And these are the 3 4 things that they have done. Beyond that, I don't think anything more could have been done. Though the DGCA very recently, yesterday or today morning, they did talk about the fact that the Dreamliner uh, fleet that they have is something that is really very good. But they also talked about, and that needs to be mentioned here. They also talked about the issue with the maintenance. You see,
Yeah.
you can buy the best aircraft in the world, but if you don't maintain it well, that's when all the problems arise. So we need to dig deeper. What exactly do they mean? Do they mean by saying that there were issues with the maintenance?
Yeah. So, and also, Mr. Giriprakash, because I would like to go to the answer which you gave to the first question. I mean, like, especially with relation to Tata, because it's not just a small brand we are talking about here. We are talking about a brand that has, global presence. So, keeping in light the crash and the post-crash analysis, you can name it anything. Do you believe that this crash has actually derailed Tata's brand image to become, to have that long term aviation ambitions of being the leader?
Absolutely. This is something that is unprecedented, and this will really lead to a situation where the Tatas have to do a lot of rethinking. Fundamental changes have to be brought. This is just not a wake up call. This actually hurts the reputation of not just Air India. It hurts the reputation of the entire portfolio of companies of Tata Sons, right? And
Yes.
therefore, they have to make fundamental changes. They have to go back to each and every aspect of how they run the airline. Apparently, they have gone and hired McKinsey, the one of the major global consultancy companies, to find out what the issues are. But the fact is this: uh, the answer lies within. They know what exactly has gone wrong, and to go back to the days when they went and acquired, we know that the government of India wrote off a lot of debt, gave them more or less a clean profit and loss,
Okay.
P&L account, P&L kind of platform that they had. The the number of assets they had, and I'm going to talk to you about that, and that's very important to know, because not many airlines acquired will get these kind of assets. So let me start about the kind of the the assets that they had. The There was the when before acquisition, the debt was about 61,000 crore, which was a legacy debt. I do understand. And before transferring the assets to the airline, they wrote it off, and the Group just took over around 15,300 crores, which at that time must have been around $2 billion, and the remaining around 46,000 crore was transferred to a special purpose vehicle called AIAHL for government settlement. The other thing is that what are the assets that Air India got? They got around over 140 aircraft, including wide body and narrow body ones. The narrow bodies are the ones which fly for 2.5, 3 hours from, say, from Bangalore to Delhi. The wide bodies are the ones which fly international routes. They got priceless international slots, around 900, including the London's Heathrow Airport. Heathrow Airport slot is, first of all, very hard to get. Another thing, it's actually priceless. You don't get it even if you pay several $1 million. And they got 4,400 landing and parking slots with domestic ones. And I need to tell you this. This is very, very important to know that when you say the time slots, for example, you catch a 5:36 a.m. flight from Bangalore, you are in Delhi by around 8:39, and you do all the work that you need to do and come back in the evening, catch another flight, and you're back in Bangalore at around 10 o'clock without spending any money for, say, a hotel accommodation for any other travel. So these are very key slots, and if an airline gets that slot, it means that they are already in business, and
Yeah.
airline got that. The Tata Sons got that. The other core assets which Tata Sons got through the acquisition of Air India was the aircraft hangars. Very difficult to get that. Another one, and 100% stake in a low cost airline, Air India Express, which goes to the Gulf countries, and a 50% stake in Air India SATS airport services, which provides cargo and ground handling services. What it actually means is that they had almost everything going for them right from the start. They didn't have to build infrastructure, they didn't have to hire pilots, they didn't have to poach pilots from other airlines. They had very well trained pilots, and all these things were there right on the table. And the only thing that they needed to do was bring in some good quality in-flight services. Okay, at the same time, could have, as far as the other things are there, when it comes to maintenance and all that, they could have just raised the standards of maintenance. All this could have been done. It doesn't really take you 3 years to do it. You could have done that. I do agree that it does take time, but a lot of things could have been fast processed, and these are the issues which will haunt them over a period of time.
Absolutely, haunt is the right word, Mr. Giriprakash, because not just the Air India members, the pilots who lost their lives, but also the lives that were lost and the families that are still reeling under this huge emotional loss at the moment. It is very easy, Mr. Giriprakash, to in hindsight to say, okay, they should have done this, they should have done that, X, Y, Z. So, but the fact is that something has gone wrong somewhere, and as you rightfully pointed out that 3 years is quite a good time, and all they needed, it was almost like I was listening to you, in which you said that possibly everything was given to them on a silver platter. All they required to do was to shape the building, or the basis was there, and they have just need to form the building. So what, according to you, I mean, like, has gone so wrong that it has come down to this point? Because losing out on 270 lives is not a joke at all.
Yeah, you're actually right, I must also tell you that the the um, and we should also look at the other issues. For example, the DGCA, right? The
Yeah.
regulator. and that's not being run properly at all. And it's been an issue not just this time, but for several years now. All right, the this is something that one needs to look. And I'll tell you why it is important. Right now, the reason why it is important is, what does the regulator do? The role of the regulator is to see that if an airline is being run badly, they should call upon the management and they should say that these are the things that you need to do. The regulator should see that the penalties are stiff, and there have been several instances where um, there were near crashes and a whole lot of issues with the pilots and all that. I do remember there was a point in time when, because of an issue with the pilot, the Air India had to pay a very heavy penalty, right?
Yeah.
But the fact is, you need professionals to run DGCA, not bureaucrats, not somebody from the government service. You need to pay top dollars to get the right kind of professionals to run it. And one of the major complaints of a whole lot of airlines is that it is not being professionally run.
Mhm.
When the regulator is not being professionally run, how do you expect the airline industry to run efficiently? You just don't need a rap on the knuckle. You also need to point out where exactly the problem is and where it has to be fixed. It's not good enough to go ahead and impose a penalty, right? DGCA should work along with each airline, and then see that the airlines are fit proper and are able to fly properly. All right. If this is not taken care of, God forbid if something else happens later.
Right. So, as far as I can understand from the front, so what is it? I won't ask you for suggestions, but what is it from you, given your experiences and you talking about the DGCA, what is it that the DGCA needs to do, or rather, the steps moving ahead? Like you said, something bigger might happen in case if, touch wood, shouldn't happen, but what are the steps, immediate steps?
Number one, get the IS officer who heads DGCA out of the way.
Okay.
Okay, because at least in this respect, you don't need an IS officer. You need somebody who's a professional. Get somebody wherever you can get him from global airlines or wherever, the guy who knows the business of running the airline and regulating the industry, to get that person to head DGCA, pay him industry level salaries. Down below, get professionals, get ex pilots, whomever you want, and then fill up DGCA with the right kind of professionals, pay them whatever that they ask. Here we are talking of human lives, for God's sake.
Yes.
When there is a crash, there is zero chance of anybody escaping alive, right? It's not like a
Yes.
bus accident or a road accident or a train accident, right? So the entire aircraft falls down, right? So therefore, you got to give that kind of importance. What I find shocking is that a whole lot of politicians, ministers visited the crash site, paid their condolences and all that. But what are you doing? What are you doing with the DGCA? Has there been any one single word from the civil aviation minister saying that I'm going to fix the problem as far as DGCA is concerned? It is as much an issue. It's a bigger issue than what Tata Sons are going through,
Hmm.
right? These are the issues that have to be taken into account. The inquiry commission is set up, the probe report is out, but does it get implemented? No. The one that happened in Kerala some time ago, what happened to
Yeah.
that probe report? Did you implement those recommendations? You didn't. You need to do all those things. There's no point in just coming out with a probe report and keeping quiet about it. If somebody has committed a mistake, somebody has committed a blunder, uh, fix that problem, right? The
Yes.
Unfortunately, uh, nobody is talking about the DGCA. The problem lies with the DGCA, right? It's another matter that the Tatas have to do whatever they have to do. This is something that should be top priority right now.
Maybe fixing up the DGCA is the top priority as per Mr. Giriprakash. But also, Mr. Giriprakash, we at the federal went out on the streets as to talk about, because, like I said earlier as well, in the past 7 odd days, there have been multiple cancellations. There have been a lot of noise in and around Air India. Do you feel that, because right now we are talking about Air India because because of the crash, but do you feel that that the general public loses its trust in a brand like this after something as disastrous what happened in Ahmedabad? And also at the same time, there are also reports of people not opting, or rather not looking at Air India as a future liner till the time this emotional wave carries on. So how is it that Air India is look, or possibly will look at this current scenario, and what can they do to regain the public trust?
Look at the kind of market share that they had. They were the second largest airline, domestic airline in the country, and they got
Yes.
this on a platter. The AirAsia India, which got merged, the Vistara, which got
Yeah.
merged, and Air India's own market share. If Indigo had around 62%, these were the second largest, inching towards 30%. That's nearly half of it. Okay, which means that they already had enough traction when it came to the passengers. The passengers were already there, right? And the kind of trust that they had with Air India, for for a lot of people, Air India was the first choice, because
Yes.
they felt it is their own brand,
Home
right?
brand.
They considered it as the flag carrier of, it was the flag carrier, and to a certain extent it continued to be the flag carrier. Now what happens to those passengers? I've heard of reports where the pilot got a panic attack, and he was on the runway. He came back because he got a panic attack, and then didn't fly. Imagine if the pilot has a panic attack. What happens to the
Yeah.
passengers, right? How do you go ahead
Yes.
and build the trust to see that the passengers come back? This is the most important question for Tata Sons, because you lose the trust once, getting it back is very difficult. It's not like an FMCG brand, it's not like a toothpaste, right? It is about the real lives of passengers.
The lives are at stake.
Yeah. Will any passenger come back? And assuming they do come back, they continue to fly, it just goes to show that in spite of all that has happened, they still trust Air India. They still trust Tata Sons. With this kind of backing, what will Tata Sons do? How will they see to it that they at least maintain that trust? It is something the Air India board, the CEO, all these people have to take that into consideration. It's important that somebody out there says, I take moral responsibility for the loss of lives of around more than 240 people. Has that happened? These are the kind of questions that need to be raised, addressed immediately, and implemented.
Right.
Right.
Mr. Giriprakash, last. Sorry, please continue, sir.
No, please go ahead and ask your question. I couldn't really get it. Yeah.
So, Sir, because right now, like I said, we are talking about Air India because of the crash that has happened. And given what you just said about the current status or condition of the DGCA, now in India, there are multiple carriers that carries domestic as well as international passengers. Given and as at this point of time, we cannot pinpoint at a certain negligence what happened, maybe at the operational level, maybe at the engineering level, or maybe etc. So does this crash comes as a wake up call for not just for Air India but also for all the other flying carriers to ensure that there is no leakage at all at any point of time, because like you also mentioned, lives are at stake. So does this come in as a wake up call for every other flying carrier in the country?
Absolutely. But there's something else that might happen, and that we need to take that into consideration also. So what might happen is that because uh, to a large extent people may no longer trust Air India, they'll make a beeline to the other airlines, like
Yes.
say in Indigo, like say in Akasa Air, like say the SpiceJet, for example. All right, but there are only so many aircraft that they have, right? There's so
Yes.
many places that they can fly to, right? The fallout will be what? It's market dynamics. Is demand and supply ratio will kick in. The uh, the 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 fares will go up naturally.
Yes.
On their own they'll go up. Can passengers afford it? No, they can't afford it. You can only afford to a certain extent, right?
Yes.
They will have issues with that. People, the corporate will cut travel of their top executives or any executives. Okay, then what happens? There are multiple issues that will come up. The hotel industry will get impacted, right? The road industry, the cab services, they will all get impacted. The other thing that will happen is the insurance claim, right? Will get will get hiked for a whole lot of airlines. The leasing charges will go up, like the way it happened when Kingfisher Airlines closed down, suspended its services. I remember there was this airline called Air Costa, I think, and they used
Yeah.
to fly Embraer, and the leasing cost was so high for that airline because what happened to Kingfisher Airlines, they had to go and suspend their services. So the smaller ones will be the ones which will get really affected. All right, and so, whole lot of sectors, a whole lot of stakeholders will get impacted just because of this. And we have our issues with legal issues. For example, there's something happens to an airline, and those leased aircraft, you cannot, the leasing companies cannot take them back because of court issues, because of a whole lot of issues. There are a whole lot of aircraft. For example, Go First has a whole lot of aircraft across the country where they are stationed.
Yeah.
There's no maintenance. Leasing companies are not, unable to take them back. All these things will now kick in again. Okay, and just because of this, it is you should not see this crash in isolation. That's what I meant.
Right. Now, a crash may be for a moment, but the impact lasts a lifetime. Thank you so much, Mr. Giriprakash, for your deep insights and also into the turbulence that is actually rocking Air India at this point of time. And for all our viewers, if you found this conversation valuable, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel and the federal, and obviously like, share, and subscribe for more sharp and independent journalism. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed.
Thank you very much for inviting me for this discussion.